There's no one waiting for me, believe me. I just need to find what's inside me. So gently, softly, hold me beside you. Don't think about tomorrow tonight.
Look at you now, your sad, tender eyes, your hair in your face, your shoelace untied, your warm, soft fingers, your breath caught and held, your heart here, pieces in my hand.
There's no one waiting for me, believe me. I just need to find what's inside me. So gently, softly, hold me beside you. Don't think about tomorrow tonight. Well, that fell off the rails.
It's okay.
Don't think about that tonight or tomorrow.
Years from now, in some lonely place, I'll take out your picture, study your face. I'll remember this night and have another beer. Ain't it funny how life just decides?
There's no one waiting for me, believe me. I just need to find what's inside me. So gently, softly, hold me beside you. Don't think about tomorrow tonight. Don't think about tomorrow tonight. Thank you, folks. Thanks again.
check, check, check. It's working.
Hey, Mike. It's me. It's you, Mikey. On the sun. All right.
Hey, hey, hey.
Check 1, 2. Check.
Check, like a real mile act. We're doing our sound check. Check 1, 2, 1, 2. I like to say puppy dog, bumblebee, dinosaur, because you can check for the popping of the P's on the microphone with the puppy dog. We try to avoid that pop, by the way.
Such a professional.
That's a good one. Yeah, Nicholas called it. This could turn into a stand-up set. We'll see. We'll see. This is going to be good.
Well, let's have fun with it.
Yeah, that's definitely the idea. Any other mic checks we got to do? No? Are we good to go with the broadcast? Matt, rock and roll? Rock and roll. Because that's what we're here for. Rock and roll at Mile of Music Fest, Mile 6. Let's hear it. Yeah, thank you. I am Josh Duclos. I host Fresh Take with Josh Duclos on WHBY Radio. That's AM 1150, FM 1035 here in Appleton. It's a talk show. We talk about pretty much anything and everything, and I love talking about Mile of Music. These people help to make that a lot easier because they're helping to put this festival on and making it fantastic. And I'm glad you're here to learn more about it. This is the Go Ask Your Mom interactive Q&A panel. It's the first time that anything like this has ever happened at Mile of Music, and I am thrilled to see so many of you taking advantage of this opportunity because there are literally dozens of performances going on at this very moment that you could be checking out. I'm glad that we'll understand if you're here for half the panel and go to another act. That's how a lot of people do this festival. You make the most of it by seeing as much as you can. But I want to get a sense of how many of you have a question you'd like to ask. I want to get a gauge of who's got questions out there that you want to ask. Show of hands if you've got questions. Okay, excellent. So we're going to make sure we have time for that. When we get to your questions, I am going to ask you to very loudly ask your question because we don't have a mobile mic. So you ask the question loudly, I'll repeat it back, and we'll turn it over to our panelists. At this point, we'll ask our panelists to introduce themselves, beginning right here to my right with Cameron.
Sure, I'm Cameron Wingen, Director of Events and Promotion for Williams Marketing and Events and Mile of Music.
And how long have you been involved with the Mile?
This is my third Mile of Music, so about 2.5, 3 years.
My name's Kim Willems, and yes, I'm Dave's daughter, because I know that question will come up at some point. So I've been with the Mile since day one, really. So
Since before day one, really?
Yeah, day -1 maybe. So
Day 0.
Ian Thompson, Director of Operations, Logistics, and Partnerships.
And how long?
For about 4 months-ish.
4 months in your official capacity.
Yeah.
Years as a
I've been-
volunteer.
I've been involved since the beginning. Started as a volunteer. The first 2 years came in as a contractor, and then got hired back in March.
Fantastic.
My name is Nicholas Raymond. I am a multi-instrumentalist performer. I am from the Appleton area. Well, I guess technically Appleton now. This is my 6th year performing and being part of it, and it's awesome.
My name's Elena Stacy. I am in a trio called Maybe April. This is our 2nd year doing Mile of Music and my 3rd year. And it's my favorite festival ever.
And where do you hail from?
Oh, and I'm from Chicago, but I've been based in Nashville for 5 years.
Maybe April performing out of Nashville. All right, so we've got some performers, we've got organizers. I have had the opportunity to meet so many musicians, including Maybe April, interviewing them on my radio show, going to the shows, and getting to know the artists is one of my favorite parts of this festival. So the way I'm kind of going to loosely structure this, is we're going to start by talking about bands, then we're going to talk about venues, then we'll talk about volunteers, and finally we'll talk about the fan experience. Anywhere along there, if you've got a question relevant to what we're talking about, hand in the air, we will get you in on it, okay? You guys ready for this? Our panelists are ready, and I want to start with the bands. Cameron, I'm going to hand this to you, you three kind of tackle this question, and then we'll get the actual artist perspective. What makes this festival so popular among artists? That's how I'm going to frame this. I've heard enough to ask. I don't have to ask you, is it popular among artists? We got Elena telling us already it's her favorite festival. I've heard this over and over again. This is the best festival some of these artists play all year long.
Thank you.
Why do you think it's so popular?
Sure, I'll put my input in. I'm sure everybody else has an opinion. Appleton, Wisconsin is a location that's not easy to just travel to when you're routing as an artist. Chicago's a little bit more on the way as you're heading one way or another through the country. Appleton is a stop that you really have to be trying to get to. So as a team, it is our job to make the artists have such a great time in Appleton while they're here that it's worth the extra effort to travel up to Northeast Wisconsin. So I think the artists love Mile of Music so much because of the effort that we're putting in to make them want to return year after year.
Fantastic. Kim, thoughts on that?
Oh gosh. Well, I think one of the things we hear, just to try and be funny here, is beer and cheese curds, and
Sure.
we hear it every single show. I also just think the artists get. We always hear that the artists are treated very well, and we put a lot of effort into doing that. So we're very proud of that as well. And yeah, I think we're all pretty nice here, so that can't hurt anything.
Ian, thoughts on that?
Yeah, to second Kim's, when I travel the country to going to other festivals or music conferences, whether I'm scouting or just being as an attendee with my wife Jess over there, the things that, we were just on a festival cruise ship called the Rock Boat, and my answer is in this experience here. So, they're like, oh, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Appleton, Wisconsin. I'm like, Appleton? You have a thing in Appleton, right? Other artists, and these are like major label artists on this cruise ship.
And they're not talking about Harry Houdini.
No.
That's the thing that we have in Appleton.
So, they just, again, they say, you all treat the artists very, very well up there. And, they're all like, we want to play. And I'm like, you guys are like a huge artist. We're not going to afford you. So.
Well, okay, fact check, artists. Do you feel like this is a festival that treats you better than other festivals you played? What makes you love this festival?
I think because it's so new, and because it's, when you start out doing something and everybody has full intentions of treating everybody really wonderfully, and I think that it goes round and round. So as an artist, like from an artist perspective, there's a lot of people that would, we want to come back, we want to keep performing. Something that I personally enjoy because I am local and I live here. I mean, there's Mile of Music happens not even just during Mile of Music, and I've been trying to explain that even at the shows that I'm performing at, because locally, I mean, this can exist all the time if you wanted it to, because there's bands coming here to Appleton even when the festival's not going on. And I've played tons of Mile events, and there's never been a Mile event where I'm like, oh, that was terrible. Like they're always really, really good. I feel like because I've been performing and doing this, and I've been through a lot in the past 6 years, as a very understated thing. But I feel like I'm more part of a family, and I think that it's that kind of vibe which sets a different expectation for other festivals, because other festivals it's more branding and very corporate and doesn't feel as family, doesn't feel as safe. So I think as long as everybody keeps their head and heart working together as that, the whole thing would work. It could be like this forever.
Yes. More and more every year. Elena, thoughts as someone coming in from outside the area?
Yeah, absolutely. So we travel a lot. We're pretty far from home right now. My bandmate Katie is actually in the audience back there.
Hi, Katie.
But we look forward to this. We've been looking forward to it since we left Mile last year. It's just the way that seriously, we're treated so wonderfully, and like everywhere we go, it's, can I help you carry that? Can I help you with that? We just got back from New York City, where like I was carrying 12 guitars at once and nobody even looked at me. Like, it's really awesome to be somewhere where people are so kind and helpful and genuine about it. It's not like putting on airs, or like it's just it's awesome, and they provide a place to stay, which is another thing that you don't get every time you're traveling. We've stayed on many a couch, 3 of us in one bed. Like we really, it makes a difference having a nice place to stay and food to eat and other bands to see. That's another thing. One of my favorite things about Milo Music is that when you're attending, when you're playing, you're not just playing, you're also attending. You're also going to see all these other artists, and it's made in such a way, especially because most of the artists are playing 4, 5, 6 shows. If you miss one, you can go see another one, and then you're watching this one band with another band you saw yesterday, and then you get to talk to them, and you meet. It's set up so well, and seriously, I definitely think that I can't put my words.
Well, it's really neat for me to hear as somebody who's been an enthusiastic participant and supporter because I've had that exact experience. I go and see a band on Friday night. Saturday, I'm at a different venue watching a different band, and the band I saw Friday is sitting next to me, watching that band as well. And then I walk up and say hi, and then I befriend them, and then I follow them on social media, and then when they come back next year, they recognize me because they love this. And the story you told I've heard over and over again of looking forward to coming back.
There's a lot of bands, I mean, even through meeting people, like I think because everyone's so nice, the vibe is so good that everybody becomes friends with other bands, and then all of a sudden we've got more networking happening where you're doing one-offs with other bands that you met from just one specific festival, and then it's cool, man. It's like this, it's
Collaboration.
an ebb and flow.
And other touring bands too, like that we've met here who are back again, and we're so excited to see them here.
Yes.
Yeah. Or if they're coming, they text us, we're coming to Nashville. Are you guys in town? Like, there's so much friendliness.
Well, and the family. Nicholas, you were talking about the feeling like it's like a family. And that's safety.
Yep.
But this also exists in the context of questions about diversity and representation in the lineup. And I want to start with the artists on this one. How does that representation factor here compare? And how can we do better? Thoughts on any of that? We'll start with the artists, and then we'll come back to the organizers about that. Elena, you want to start?
Yeah, that is actually something that I have noticed about Milo Music is not super representation of diversity, and but I think even the fact that it's being talked about is really huge because it's a huge step because that is the first thing to change. So I think that I think they do a great job of representing women. My band is all women, so I think that's great. And just moving forward, I think just paying attention to that. I did notice there are some cool workshops on some African drumming and it seems like efforts are being made and but I do think that's an important thing because one of the cool things about playing a festival is getting to hear so many different types of music, different genres, different people. So the more that can be done to encourage that, I think, is really important. And it seems like everything is moving in that direction, so that's really great.
So when I first started playing music, some of the shows that we used to do when I was in high school is we'd rent out, we couldn't do anything, so we'd rent out VFWs. And we would have 3 rap artists, 4 metal bands and punk bands, and then folk artists playing. And they were some of my fondest memories of just eclectic shows and just all the support were from something like that. So I think musically, because you can say what you want about I think the musical connection and the things that we experience through music, especially music and the way that we experience it is pretty similar. Music is talking without talking. So, we're all different genres. We all have different tastes and things. But I feel like the bottom line is that no matter what is happening, music has no sexuality. Music has no gender. Music has no, you know what I mean? It has no. It's just this thing. But I think that through that we could probably do better at getting. I don't know how far the team wants to span into, how do you, it's just the more genres that you add, the more that you're going to be picking through things. But I do think personally, I would love to see more hip hop. I want to see more funk. I want to see, more Latin based. I want to see it all.
There's so much more out there.
Yeah, I think, you gotta maybe look at it like a big span record collection. I'm oh, dude, I totally have my Rancid record, but there's days where I'm I want to listen to Buena Vista Social Club. I want to, it's just, Yeah, just a bigger palette.
That's a helpful way of thinking about it. Ian, you want to start just how you think about this as somebody who is putting the schedule together, literally?
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, I'm sorry, it would be a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love challenges, so it's fun. I do have a blast with it, but I totally agree. I think it's important that we start having that discussion. We have to continue having that discussion. I'm a continuous improvement person, so that's the way I approach pretty much every project. So we're going to continually getting better. It's going to happen organically. It's going to take some time. We are making our efforts, certainly. When we first started this thing, 5 years ago, 6 festivals ago, part of the design was to enhance this community and make it more diverse by bringing diverse talent and music and artists into here. And music does bring all of us together. It really does, from every background. And music is a beautiful thing.
Cameron, thoughts on that?
I think as a team, we try to do a good job of listening with our ears and not even with our eyes. So we're going to continue that going forward, where we're trying to bring quality to Appleton, and we're not going to be biased by any genre or. Check. Sorry about that. I said.
Maybe that's our cue to see if we've got a question from the audience.
Live
Yeah, we'll
events.
start with you right there. Yeah, great question. How can people provide feedback to organizers on the festival experience? Kim, you want to start with that?
We'll see if this works. So at the end of every mile, we do a survey and we put it out on social media. We send it out through email. Try to jump in if you can, but
Okay. Check.
nope. Okay. So we do that survey and we'll send it out next week. So be looking for that. That's probably the best way to guarantee that we're going to see it and read it and all of that. But we always, take things into consideration through email and such as well.
I also know the Mile of Music Festival official accounts are very responsive on social media to that kind of feedback as well, trying to be present and aware of what's going on there.
Yeah, we try to answer questions as fast as we can. So.
Yeah.
Do you invite artists, or can artists invite themselves?
Great question.
People in here.
It's kind of a both, actually. We work with agencies, booking managers. We do have a submission process. So it's kind of a both. We do reach outs, and then we go out scouting. We're looking at some artists there too, and just trying to put that together.
I think that's the greatest thing about Mile of Music is it has a reputation for people reaching out to us saying, how can we play Mile of Music? Year one was very much, how can we get enough artists to come here and try to make this special? And now we're running into, who do we have to say no to because we've run out of slots to be able to offer people? And that's a really cool thing, and it speaks to this festival. It speaks to the organizers and the volunteers and the artists that have played for the past 5.5 years to what it's grown into. Because now we have artists telling us, we've got to do whatever it takes to get here. So how can we make that happen?
I will cry if we don't get to keep playing this festival forever.
The stakes are very high
Just
here,
want
you
to put
guys.
that out officially.
That's not a risk we want to take. So
Well, that brings up a good point. From the artist standpoint, how do you feel about? I mean, we literally could put this thing on repeat every year. I mean, how would you see that from a creative standpoint?
I mean,
I know you do,
well,
but being
I'm-
local,
yeah,
that's
I guess if you guys were like take a year off, I'd be like, well, why?
But that's it. The
But I'd
festival
still-
only has a certain capacity. There's
Exactly.
only
I think
900
that
at.
if you were like, dude, we don't want you to play, I'd be like, well, cool. Then how can I help? Like I'd still be really involved.
Yeah.
you know?
I love
Like,
that.
It's not about I was like, it's not so much about me. Like I need me time. I need to play. I mean, I love doing it.
I might even if I wasn't playing, and I live very far away, but I might still come to Mile of Music if I could, just to come and watch because it's so fun. It's like, even if we didn't have the opportunity to play it, I think we would still want to be major supporters and be involved in any way we could.
to that specifically, we'll get some more questions in a second. When you are actually programming this thing, how much is doing the schedule like playing Tetris? That's how I'm going to frame that question.
I want to answer that because I've spent many a night.
Playing Tetris.
This isn't a video game question. Okay. Okay. No, I've spent many late nights with just a computer screen in front of me working on the puzzle that is Mile of Music. We do have 208 acts this year, including a couple extras that were either pop-ups or surprise performances that aren't announced per se.
I have to talk to you about one more.
Oh, geez.
Breaking news.
And what most people may not realize about those 208 acts is there are a lot of artists that are in multiple bands while they're in Appleton. So you can put a schedule together with those 209 acts, but you may need to factor where one person is and where they also may need to be with the other acts. So it's yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'm a multi-instrumentalist. So
yes.
I gotta play drums in this band at 2, but I have a show at 1.
Maybe April's a fantastic example. Michelle Mandico plays with
Kristen.
We perfected.
Which is why she's not in the audience right now. For some reason. She's playing
We
the drum.
perfected maybe April's schedule and then had to go back to the drawing board to make sure that Michelle could play her sets successfully. And so we think we're finished with one part of the puzzle, and then we have to go back and totally change it just because of how it slots
So
other
some
places throughout.
Tetris with a twist of Rubik's Cube.
Most
in there.
definitely, and I wasn't great at Tetris, but you know, much like what we're talking about here today, as we've grown with this festival, we're getting better and better at solving those issues where two people are supposed to be at the same place at the same time, and it's actually fun. At the same time, it's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
Just to really add to that, I think when we look at the schedule too, we're keeping the artists in mind to say like, we start building, I call it the lane, or of let's say Thursday schedule, for example, and we're saying, oh, maybe April would love to play with Michelle Mandico, and we'll just kind of put that together, put down and build. Going back to your reference of when all the artists are hanging out, we know that, I think you'd be pretty cool. Maybe you can make a run, tour out of that.
There's so many opportunities on the schedule as well where it's a showcase, where there's 6 artists who aren't performing at that moment, so let's give them all an act together, a performance with that many, so one person could go and sit at one performance and actually see half a dozen artists. Yes, sir.
We appreciate that question.
Let me just
so
repeat
thank
that.
you.
Yeah. This question is about the asking people to pay attention to the performance, the listening aspect of the festival. I love the phrase, the Milo Music Festival, where the only thing we ask you to pay is attention. And that was great. Yes. Nice work, Cam.
It's in the process of being trademarked, and I will receive royalties from every sign next year.
To the question, what difference does that make to the artists, to the performers as you're performing? What difference does that make to your experience here?
1,000% difference. It's amazing. That's one of the things that makes this festival so awesome is, especially some of these venues are the kind of venues that normally you would go and nobody would listen. So as an act who, our music is it's not big rage and it doesn't matter if anyone's paying attention because it's going to blow you away. Our music is listening music, and so we've definitely played tons of festivals or clubs where nobody listens, and that's okay. We do that because we love our music and that's part of the journey. But to actually stand up here and see people out there who are listening and paying attention, especially in an environment where they might usually not be listening, it makes all of the difference in the world. It's amazing. It's incredible.
I think something
Nicholas.
that I've seen is the signs where it says "quiet, please." You know what I mean? That's is that this year that you guys started doing that?
Yeah.
Even at local venues, I think Milo Music has started to do that too. Or at least I've seen at Stone Arch where it says there's little things, but it's just a good reminder of being respectful. I guess for me, I've played and as an artist when you tour especially, you kind of get used to gauging how something's going to go. But it's always a really pleasant surprise when you're like, oh wow, everyone's super focused. Oh, I have to talk.
Wow, wait, they're listening?
Does that increase the pressure at all? Does it? When you know people are really
Yeah,
zoned in?
Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it's weird because, like, I don't know, like you get in a certain mood, you know. So like, it doesn't, you know. Sometimes you didn't eat enough, or sometimes you're just like having a day, or you've been on the road for, you know, a lot longer than you want to be, and but when someone, you know, when you've got a crowd that listens, you're either like, oh, they're listening, or you're like, wow, this means a lot. Either way, it does. Like,
Yeah,
you're really stoked
absolutely.
about it all the time.
And was the decision to emphasize that? I know it's always been a part of the festival ethic. What drove the decision to really put that front and center this year?
Back in, I think it was March, late March, early April, Corey was involved in some of our...
Maybe April.
Totally it was then.
Maybe April.
I never heard that one before.
He's a new dad.
He qualifies.
So yeah, when Corey came back to do some strategic planning sessions with us, it was one of the factors that he was driving home with us, you know, saying, you know, what can we do to enhance that this year? And we talked about signage being one of them, and just our overall messaging of being a music-first experience. And you know, this is an artist-focused and community-forward festival. You know, we do it for them and all of you. So we all have to work together, I feel, as the venue owners too. You know, we're all in this together. So let's work together to you know, continually improve this and up the quality for them and show them respect.
Kim, what kind of feedback is the team getting from this, from audiences, but also from the venues, the people who are ostensibly supposed to be enforcing the notion that artists are at work and people are supposed to be quiet?
Right. I think. Is it working? I think that's one of the parts that we're going to go back after the festival and talk to all the venues. How can we make this better for you and for us and the artists? It's a lot of moving pieces, as we've mentioned before. And I think some of the venues are more receptive to it than others, as I'm sure you could imagine. These venues operate differently 361 other days of the year. So we're asking them to do something that they're not used to doing. And so it's a little bit of a learning curve for everyone
Especially on, like,
involved.
a high stress
Yes,
weekend.
exactly.
One
This is
thing
a
I
big
noticed that
weekend.
There's volunteers this year as well that are really stepping it up. I have noticed
Yay.
them talking or walking up to groups of people and being like, hey, you know, keep the conversation to a minimum, and then they're very helpful.
That's
which is-
great.
That's it. All your volunteers
That's
have
really
been
awesome.
really, really great.
Well, thanks.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, question right here.
I just have a comment. I wanted to say that we went to see one of the solo artists, Zach Joyce, at this Appleton Sports Bar, and he thanked the audience during his show for listening, and we're, of course, he said, usually TVs are on,
Right.
and all, it was really cool.
So,
The audience listening.
yeah, so one of the artists actually thanking the audience for listening so intently. So it does make a difference. Yeah. A lot have. Yeah, we've seen that a lot. Awesome. That's great to hear. Yes.
That's my grandma.
Hello. Hi. Welcome.
Welcome to Mile.
And it's so well organized. The thing that impresses me the most is that people are so accepting of this festival. They bring their children, you know, kids to educate some babies. And this is so impressive. I just love that.
The family-friendly nature of the festival, absolutely. And part of that is having venues that are coffee shops, that are not all alcohol-serving establishments, because you can say families allowed here, but then it's one thing to actually bring your kids into a bar. This kind of a venue offers more of that family-friendly opportunity. My question about the venues before we move on to volunteers, because I want to get back to them as well. They're a huge part of this festival happening. With the venues, what is asked of a venue? For them to be an official venue of the festival, what is asked of them to be qualified that way?
Yeah, we have a contract that we have, and it's very simple. It's just basically, you know, like keeping the TVs off, you know, having signage placed this year, you know, just working with the production staff, just being a good partner, you know, and that all-around customer service is what we're asking of them. And then we do ask them for a stipend, and that does help pay for production costs in their venue. some of these, like a venue like this, there's a set rate that we have based upon how many artists they're going to be inside that venue. And then the larger full band venues, it's a 10% contribution, but that again goes right back into the production costs of the showcases they're getting.
And the festival organizers actually manage the sound people, all the equipment. You guys are handling all the technical production aspects. They're essentially the home of that slate of performers.
Correct. The venues are just basically hosting the shows, and then we contract out with some production crews like Lighthouse Productions, for example. Great partner of ours. So we contract out a lot of that labor too. So.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Right. So emphasizing that the family experience here is strong. A lot of it is the music education opportunities, not as many performers specifically oriented towards a more broad appeal. Thoughts about that, Cameron?
Yeah, I have a favorite that we bring back every once in a while. His name's Mr. Pete. He's a favorite of mine. He's a Wisconsin native. He's a children's performer. All of his songs are geared towards families coming together, kids being able to dance, and then there's education elements within all of the lyrics to his songs. We've had him for a couple of festivals. This year we have a performer named Duke Otherwise who performed at, I think he may have already performed at the Children's Museum today, or the Building for Kids, sorry. So going with everything that we've been talking about diversity and things like that, we can always grow, and there's room for more children's or family-specific performers. We've made strides to make sure we're welcoming some in every year, and they're more early in the day before a lot of people come down for their first visit for the day. But there are definitely more things that we can do in the future to address something like that. And it's valid. There's a big audience for those type of performers, and we want families to be able to enjoy the festival without having to visit a bar or be a part of a larger crowd.
Would you ever consider doing focus groups rather than this survey? Because I know Appleton has been doing a phenomenal job this year and maybe input on our new library. So would you ever consider doing focus groups?
Asking whether focus groups would ever be part of the feedback.
Yeah, we have had them for certain pieces of the festival, and we would definitely be open to continuing to do those. So,
I think something like this would be a great forum. If we invite a whole room community into a whole room like this, I think that would be great, because then it would also get the conversation rolling, on diversity, and we could really reach into the community that way too.
I think another thing on that is we do the survey right after the festival so that everything is fresh in people's minds, where a focus group a little while could go by and you're not going to think of everything right away. So
Interesting idea, though, to do a focus group during the festival, allowing people who are in from out of town. I mean, that's one way that you could really get that real-time feedback, maybe not applying all of it in that year, but to be able to leverage the experience as a way to gather that feedback. Yeah.
I'm always curious about financially what you do for the artists. Do you pay the artists? Do you pay transportation costs? Do they get a stipend?
Great question. What kind of compensation is going back to the artists for performing here?
Sure. So all of our artists are paid for all of their sets that they perform at during Mile of Music. We try to work as hard as we can to treat them well past the financial component. So they do receive compensation per set. But then we work with our community businesses, partners, organizations to provide what we call the Artist Care Program that is outside of just financial to really enhance their experience. So it's massages and it's ear
Dental care.
Yeah, dental care, which
The
is
dental
which
care.
we get comments on the dental care all the time. Romanesco Family Dentistry allows our artists to go for checkups and cleanings, and what we've
Including
noticed with
cavities.
what we've
Even
noticed.
cavities, yeah, for
A lot of our artists, they're on the road for so long.
Yeah.
They don't take care of themselves because they're trying to take care of the vehicle they're driving in, or they're taking care of their bandmates and not worrying so much about their individual needs.
So-
and Mile Music gives them that opportunity.
Talk to us a little bit about that, Elena. You are on the road
I
weeks
am.
at a time.
Yes.
And when you come here, is the treatment you're getting here different than you get at other festivals you're playing?
Yes, 100%. I mean, like Cameron mentioned, we do get paid for our shows. There are some festivals where we could get paid a lot more, but the awesome thing about this festival is sometimes it's not, we're here for 4 days, so we get a place to stay. They pay us, and they also provide lodging for us, so we don't have to pay for a hotel, which a lot of times is hard on the road. You're making money, but then you're spending it all on a place to stay, to just exist. They give us a place to stay. They feed us every day. We were just talking about this in an awesome way. There's like this spot where all the artists can go
Artist
and
lounge.
eat food, the artist
POC.
lounge. And there's these big tables, so you're sitting together with people you never met. You're meeting each other. You're saying, "Hey, come to my set." So it's a super comfortable and safe environment where we're getting fed. We have a place to sleep, and even those two alone are incredible for a festival sometimes. And then the dentist and the massages and the audiology, everything. I just can't even believe that it exists. It's so awesome. And that, to me, at least, and I think for my bandmates as well, matters more sometimes than making a few $100 extra bucks, because those are things that we're going to have to do, self-care and all that. We have to do that for ourselves anyway, and we don't always get the time to do that when we're on the road. So it's like we're on the road
I
and
ju-
we're comfortable.
I wanted to chime into that because you specifically asked. Our music makers help us tremendously be able to provide all of this to our artists. So the music makers, if you don't know, they purchase a badge that provides perks throughout the year to several events that we do throughout the year, as well as during the festival. There's a couple of unique showcases that we provide access to music makers. They financially support the festival, keeping it going, and most importantly, keeping it free for everyone to be able to attend, any age, doesn't matter who you are.
And we should probably at this moment mention Tundraland.
Yes.
Because that's been a huge part of making this a huge free festival. Brian Gottlieb and his company, Tundraland, I'm sure you've seen Brian around town, do a huge amount of support, not just for Mile of Music Festival, not just for Mile of Music, but for all of the creative endeavors in town. So shout out to Tundraland on that one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tundraland has been huge for us, but all of our sponsors are important to us and help keep this festival free and help keep it what it is. And they're just as invested as we are. So
We're not surprisingly, we're running low on time, and we're not getting to everything. I want to make sure we touch on volunteers, and then we'll go back for more questions. Who should start? Yeah, Ian?
I just had one comment about the pay for the artists. Again, going back to the improvements and continuous improvements, that's something we know we can get better at, and we're committed to doing that. We're committed to slowly putting more in for you guys, and that is something we're really striving to do in the future.
And the way that you can do that is by having volunteers, keeping your overhead low.
And more sponsors, too.
Segue. Sponsors always help, but talk about the volunteers. What does the army of volunteers make possible? Yeah, Kim, hit that.
Okay. So each year we look for just over 400 volunteers. Just over.
400 or so.
So this year, I think we just hit that number. And those people really help. I've probably said it 1,000 times. But those people really help us be everywhere that we can. We're a small team. There's a few more of us that aren't here. but we can only be 10 places at once. If I could be everywhere, I would be everywhere.
My phone has not stopped vibrating.
Pretty much.
Well, I was wondering how it was possible you guys could take a whole hour just to sit here and be with us today.
I'm
was
plugged
solid.
my phone.
I just wanted to say that there's no telling what's happening outside right now.
Can somebody run outside and look?
I don't see flames lapping at the door just yet, so we'll get there.
Yeah, we're okay right now, hopefully.
I saw
so
Dave run out the door.
Yeah. So the volunteers have been really crucial. Ian was a very crucial part in getting the volunteers set up for 3-4 years. And then this year with his new role, I kind of took over a little bit so he could focus on his stuff.
And Kim has just been a solid person to take over that role. She's done an amazing job.
Thanks.
And I guess we couldn't really find anybody else better to do it.
Right. Anyone
No,
else better?
no, you couldn't find
anyone
anybody
better.
else. So,
I wanna-
shameless plug though, we are looking for a few volunteers for Houdini and Washington Square tonight.
There
so,
we go. Because those big main stages, just that one stage, you're talking about a dozen or more volunteers, well over a dozen over the course of a weekend.
absolutely, we work with Appleton Downtown to get that all squared away, but they still need people from us, even though they have their own people as well. So.
Has anyone in the room been a volunteer for Mile of Music before? We got one hand way in the back. We got a couple up front here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. And everyone else, it is a cool way to experience.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so
Host
much.
family for one of the artists. Awesome. Yeah, so
you.
again, that whole family element that you mentioned earlier, Nicholas, really comes through because there are different roles in a family, right? Everybody can do something different to help push that shared mission.
There's always one creepy uncle.
So who's that?
I was going to say, you claiming that, or? Yes.
For volunteers, are they only in for about the weekend, or do you need volunteers prior to that?
That's
Do you
a
need
great
volunteers before the weekend starts?
So in addition to Mile of Music, we at Willems Marketing and Events do events all year round. So we do have a year-round volunteer list. So if you're interested in that as well, feel free to send us an email. But another shameless plug. I'm full of them. So yeah, I think we have the whole week of that, we're setting up, we're getting things ready. We always are recruiting for that as well. And just some of the planning and some of the stuff you don't see, like folding t-shirts and making sure the artist packets get ready. Those are things that we're always looking for people to help with. More hands.
All right, so plenty of ways to get involved. Yes, question up here.
With that question, I'm just going to say, I'd be willing to wear a yellow button. It says, "Mom says quiet, please." Give it to volunteers.
So it really employ the whole army of festival goers to try and peer supervise and keep people quiet. The suggestion was the button that says, "Mom says quiet, please." I like that.
I love
Question on the end.
Oh yeah, I just got a comment, I really appreciate it, this is just such a free-range event, for any age, back to community, perspective, it's just so cool to see all these different artists at my age, and for example, the bars, I can't really go in there by myself, go with parents or whatever, and for example, I hang out with my friends at coffee shops and such, and it's just so cool to see a whole bunch of bands and stuff there.
Yeah. Can I ask how old you are? 14. So 14 years old, hanging with the friends at the coffee shops, knows they can't go by themselves into the bars, and there's plenty of opportunities, not just to go hang in a coffee shop, but to see the same artists that are playing the main stage, that are playing the bars.
You don't have to hang out with your parents the whole time.
Which is really the goal. Which is really the goal, I'm sure. Yes.
Or your grandparents.
Are you a musician?
As cool as they might be.
Are you a musician?
An age limit for.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming.
Is
I
there-
mean, it's really cool to see someone your age at this.
Is there an age limit for volunteering? Do you have to be a certain age to volunteer?
We ask for 16 or older if you're volunteering by yourself. You do have to have a parent sign your waiver, but we have had some 13, 14-year-olds volunteer with an adult.
Yeah. Okay, alongside a
Yep.
parent. Okay, any other questions? Questions right back there.
Well, the big question I have, and I've been in my second year here, and that is how do you figure out, and back to the whole jigsaw puzzle, how do you figure out the bands to the venues? How you marry that?
Yeah, so the question is about how you match the appropriate band to the right venue. And that probably kind of relates to the talking question and some of these other things that comes up too.
And it goes back to, when the venues, when we do the visits, when we first set this thing up, we would not put a full band, Nicholas's full band would not work in this room. Well, I guess it would, because I've seen you play in small rooms, but
Playing here tonight, I think.
A couple times
Yeah.
last year, and we're playing here tonight, and it was our favorite because it's such a perfect
yeah, but
experience for us.
we do use it for a listening room because it is set up for a listening style room, and then some of these other venues like Mill Creek, for example, that's a full band venue. So we know that that's going to be a great full band. We know that, again, going back to the listening portion of it, the artist would just get stepped on if they were in that, because it's such a small, narrow room. We do work with our production coordinator, Aaron Dusterhoff, who's a phenomenal sound engineer.
Is he officially on the team now? Is that contract?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, contracted.
Okay,
Yeah.
official, unofficial.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so he helps us, scale out a room and says, yeah, they'd be good here, and we're not good here.
I just know Aaron, and he built a sound studio in his own basement. So I know he knows what he's talking about when it comes to that kind of stuff. Nicholas, thoughts on that?
Oh, I was just going to say, no offense to you, Mikey, but Aaron is probably one of the best sound guys in the Valley. He's all over the place, and he's just great.
Shots fired. Okay, we're quickly running out of time. Yes, real quick. First songs. How do you decide who plays
That's an
first
awesome
songs?
question, and it's a heavy responsibility. So maybe April had the opportunity to play first songs last year.
And I think we did the last songs thing too.
Yes, a song before we go as well, which I encourage everyone to visit on Sunday at 5 o'clock at the chapel if you get a chance.
If you're still standing.
It's an amazing experience that just encapsulates the entire festival very well. I'll let Ian speak on it as well, but our team gets so excited about these artists that it's tough to narrow down a list of potential first songs artists. We always try to make them newcomers to the festival, so you're not seeing returners that you've already seen at a previous festival, but there are names that we get so excited about that on a daily basis we're talking about them, we're watching every video, we're listening to every song, and those become our first songs artists. So there's just ones that end up standing out that we spend so much time talking about that those are the ones that end up becoming first songs artists.
So it serves a bit as like a sampler platter of here's what the team is sort of highlighting, recommending, make sure you catch these acts.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're out and you go out and you scout and you see these people and you like kind of close your eyes, you're like, oh yeah, that'd be a perfect first songs artist, and then we get them in there.
Yeah, and then so Zane Carney was one of the last artists at First Songs. We wanted him so badly for First Songs. His flight was delayed.
By a day.
We may or may not have tried to stretch that First Songs out to get him to the PAC in time.
Literally, Taylor Greenwood, who's on our team, picked him up from the airport. He's literally sending us text, plane landed, at baggage, in the car, driving.
So if someone walked on stage a little slower, that may have actually been intentional because we wanted him to be seen so much.
These are the kind of insights you can only get when you go ask your mom. See, that's why we do this sort of thing. I love this. Okay, so I want to ask if we've got any, we'll have time for one more. One more. Is there anyone who hasn't asked yet? Anyone who has a question who has not asked yet? Sir.
I walked in my Appleton, so I don't know
Yep.
if it's been asked, but what's the growth been like since year 1 to year 6 as far as artists, volunteers?
What has growth been like over the years? That's a good sort of numbers, and we can land it there before we get final thoughts.
Yeah, it's definitely grown more than any of us had ever thought it would have gone. I don't really know what the estimates were early on, but last year, Mile 4, we were probably estimating about 60,000 attendees. Last year, like 70,000 attendees we estimated. We don't want it to get any bigger. We're not trying to be South by Southwest. That's not what we want. Logistically and from a team standpoint, this is as big as we can handle. So we can't have it get any larger. And actually, this year we made an effort to scale it back some.
And that's with regard to attendance. As
Correct.
far as the actual bands go, I think I remember from Mile 1, don't hold me to this, I think I remember from my t-shirt, it was like 50 venues, 100 artists, over 200 performances.
Yep.
This
Started
year,
small.
it's 200 artists, 70 venues, 900 performances.
Correct.
So those are the numbers from 1 to 6. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. So I want to land it, and we're going to start with you, Elena. I want to land by giving your one best piece of advice for how to do the mile. So you've performed. I get a ton of people asking me like, okay, I'm coming for my first time. How do I do this? Like, how do I approach this? How do I attack this? Any insights you would offer for how someone approach participating in attending Mile of Music?
Okay. The app, for me, I love the app. You got to get the app.
Another thing that has gotten better and better every year.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Better and better every year because you can go through, you can look at all the artists, or you can look at it by venue, or you can look at it, there's so many ways to look at it. Get the app. Just choose all the artists you want to see. It'll make a little schedule for you, and then that way you can decide where you want to go because there's so many places. So get the app.
Excellent. And thanks to Skyline Technologies for the app.
Yes.
Hydrate.
Especially today.
Self-care is a good piece of
Self-care,
advice.
Especially. I find that if I don't drink alcohol the whole mile until my after my last performance, it's great.
So don't overdo it. That's really good advice.
It really is. I sing. I mean, singing too. Something that I do a lot is just like if I am going to go network with stuff with people, I can't just be like, hey, it's really good to see you. I just want to watch people, but then I still end up talking way more than I should, like doing a panel.
What a dumb idea.
Your last words right there. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, to that, it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So definitely just take it easy. The first couple days, maybe go hard Saturday. We're going to go hard Sunday too. So just keep to the app. Check the app out. If you're coming to any festival, really, download the app, look at the schedule, listen to the artists, check their YouTube, check their social channels, pick the ones you really want to see, but also discovery, right? When you're standing in line, talk to the people in front of you or behind you, get to know them, and talk to them about what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're feeling, and you might find them your next favorite band by just talking to the person next to you, standing in line. So.
Kim?
Well, you kind of said exactly what I was going to say. So, I mean, do your research, but be open to anything that might happen. I mean, we have had a ton of pop-up performances this festival, so just exploring new venues. That's one of my favorite things, is just seeing music in places you don't normally see music. So you might have your typical favorite restaurant, favorite coffee shop. This is my favorite coffee shop. So just kind of seeing what's all out there. Take it all in.
Yeah, my piece of advice would be don't be afraid to go outside of your comfort zone. Some of my favorite mile artists are ones that are a little bit outside of the genre that I'm most comfortable with. This year for me, it's a hip-hop duo called Little Stranger. If you get a chance, I'm hoping they're still in town, but they might not be.
You don't know this?
You would think that I knew this scheduling them.
We'll have to check the app.
But yeah, don't be afraid to go into a venue where you're not really even sure what the band is or what the artist really performs, and you may be very surprised.
Thank you all for being here. First, I want to thank our artists, Elena Stacy and Nicholas Raymond. I want to thank all of our technical producers who made this whole thing possible here and broadcasting online. We were streaming the whole event live online. Thank you for that. Thank you, guys. And of course, finally, thank you to the Mile team represented here by Cameron, Kim, and Ian. Thanks, team. Appreciate it. Thank you all for being here. I'm Josh Duclos. That does it. Enjoy the festival.